We're kicking off day 2 with Executive Director of the Fab City Foundation, Tomas Diez. Tomas is a Venezuelan urbanist who specializes in digital fabrication and its implications in the futures of cities and society. He is co-founder of Fab Lab Barcelona at the Institute for Advanced Architecture of Catalonia and co-founder of the Smart Citizen Project, an organization that builds tools to foster citizen engagement through participatory data collection, analysis, and action. Tomas will be speaking on empowering communities, the core mission of the Fab City Network, who works hard to help cities build their own sustainable, innovative, and resilient urban futures. Please help me to welcome to the stage, Tomas.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be in the Hackster Summit. I see some very familiar faces, familiar companies that have been part of this. I would call it a shared journey for the more than a decade that we have been working together. You know, with Arduino, with Seed, with all these companies that are also supporting the development of technologies at different scales in the world. And I want to share today a little bit of updates in the work that we're doing from Fab City, and also some of the work that I'm actually doing with some really great colleagues that some of you might know, with Ginger and others in Bali. So let me share my screen 1 second. So very quickly, I'm gonna try to be brief. I think the way in which we think about technology today needs to be very, very different from when we were almost like kids or very enthusiastic teenagers. For some of us, no, like we had been, I guess that most of us have been wondering about the possibilities of technologies. We played with very old computers, disassembled them, put them together, and we were almost unaware of a lot of implications that technology have behind, no? And you know, I think the times in which we are now, we need to consider like a totally unpredictable. No, we're seeing like a changes that were supposed to be more we could anticipate are now more and more difficult to predict. No, like the way in which a geopolitical conflict in the world changed entire supply chains, a pandemic, the possible consequences of climate change, like actually pushing us to think completely different in how we use technology today than we were doing, almost 2 decades ago. No, I mean, it's not secret for everyone that technology is making more accessible, more portable, more pervasive, ubiquitous. It's everywhere. We have become producers of content. We are, we have the world on our fingertips. And we are keeping producing a lot of like data and information that is almost creating this kind of I call it like a information obesity, like we don't know what to do with it. But then it seems like all these phenomena seems to be like a very detached from our physical environment, and I think that's definitely a mistake. And the way in which we are starting to see technology sometimes is very almost like this magical tool that somehow like this black box that creates things out of nowhere. But there are like a very deep implications in how we use technology today. No, it's first of all, like we, whatever is digital is not immaterial. This idea of the metaphor of the cloud or the the immaterial side of data is actually fake. No, we really need to power things first of all. No, we need also materials to build them. And we humans basically, not only in relation to all the tools that we use, they have a material dimension to it, and we're consuming those materials in a very, very fast pace nowadays. No, and as I said before, like wherever we live, we are really attached to supply chains that make somehow cities a little bit like octopuses that are consuming resources here and there to satisfy our own needs. And then it has costs, it has collaterals that sometimes we don't even look at them, especially when you are in the European bubble, on some, in the Western countries bubble, that you don't see where the actual materials, the labor that make possible your wonderful creations, you don't know where they come from. And then at the same time, when we externalize all of these aspects, we become more fragile, less independent somehow, no? So in a way, this is how the world works today, no? Especially when you think about cities or human settlements, they need to import products, consume a lot of products from anywhere in the world, and we process them and we turn them into trash, and the trash goes out, and sometimes we don't know what to do with it, no? When you look at the production capacity of different countries, then you will be surprised to see, the huge differences that the global economy has created between them, no? This is example of this is from the Harvard Atlas of Economic Complexity. There's some examples from countries like Venezuela, for instance, a lot of production of oil, and needs to import almost everything it consumes. What happens is the oil goes down in price, or it collapses the industry, then basically the entire country is suffering from satisfying the needs of our citizens, no? There are other countries like Australia that are more balanced out. This is like Indonesia, also a big producer of natural resources and a big importer of a lot of like advanced. This is Indonesia is one now, actually connected from Jakarta. Our industrial economy produces a lot of trash. It's very wasteful. It's based on these logics that we need to create like a humongous amount of stocks to make it efficient, scalable, profitable, and it's very wasteful again, like and has a devastating consequence in the environment. So what we're trying to look at from the perspective of city is how we can make ourselves more productive, how we can use the power that all of us have seen in technology and that we had experienced. It emerged from the world of Fab Labs, but it also involves the more wider maker movement. It's trying to set up like a kind of a very clear agenda, like how we're gonna put our creativity and capacity of innovation. We just want to isolate ourselves fun in our garage or in our studio, and trying to fix things, from the very local scale to the actual at the planetary level, no? So we want to think about this alternative model, no? If, as I explained before, we work now in this product in, trash out, how we can bring production, localized production, more radically, production of energy, of food, production of things, and how this production can help us to make materials circulate locally and data circulate globally. No, it's basically using the power of the internet to create the knowledge and the instructions on how to build your own, solar farm, and then being able to produce it locally with different resources. No. And this is something that is not new, to be honest. Many people in the West Coast back in 40, 50 years ago in the US were thinking about this. You look at the whole Earth catalog, is pretty much a foundational idea of this open source internet in which people can share knowledge about how to live sustainably. And now we're kind of revisiting it and understanding what it means in this century, no? Also, try to understand the role of these different local capacities for production, no? I don't believe that Fab Labs or maker spaces need to become micro factories, but they need micro factories. So if we have these, community production spaces that can be hacker spaces, again, Fab Labs or maker spaces, how, the creations of people can be also supported with, these other forms of producing locally, which is not necessarily like a very large industry, no? But talking about like these micro factories, artisanal work at the local level, flexible factories as well. This more like a capacity for on-demand production at the local level, capacity also for dealing with our waste and turning into resources at the local level, and so on. No, it's really try to rethink how we can understand the infrastructure that the 21st century needs, and also how to land this way of working through a different framework. No, in the case of the Fab City Global Initiative, we're introducing this idea of a full stack, no? The Fab City full stack as a framework to articulate these different efforts that need to happen at different scales globally, but also with a very, very localized strategy, no? And with the full stack, we're trying to understand how, these access to tools, which is actually the title of one of the first issues of a Whole Earth catalog, can also, change how we learn about those tools as well, how we adapt and how we develop applications, how we learn together with them to create new innovations that led to applications that can range, from agriculture to housing to sensing, to different ways in which we can use digital fabrication technologies and all the implications that they have behind them, to really rethink how we intervene in a specific context. No, this is one of the projects that we have been using to understand this idea of a full stack is a Smart Citizen, which I co-founded with colleagues in Barcelona. That it was not only about the technology, but also learning about how to work with communities, to understand issues at the local level, and then find the right technologies, the proper technologies that will serve that purpose. No, and actually, Smart Citizen is a great example of collaboration with companies like Seed and others, that we are trying really to empower people through technology. No, we're really, I think, like one of the things we need to understand is that what we are creating with these community production spaces, with the open source communities, online and offline communities, is really this idea of learning together differently, no? And creating new opportunities to learn together in a whole new way. This is what we're doing through some of the educational programs. One is the Master in Design for Emerging Futures that I co-direct in Barcelona. The other one is the Master in Design for Distributed Innovation that you can do from anywhere in the world, that we also co-organized with our colleagues in Barcelona. And yes, Paco, this is you, one of my former students, which is now one of the leaders of the Fab City movement in Mexico, in the city of León, no? But then this really idea of like the need to create these spaces to learn together is what I think like we have to encourage more, no, to encourage ourselves to produce more these spaces to learn, to rethink not only about the technology itself or the tool, but it's also what the tool can do for a different contexts. No, this is a photo, for instance, from the last year Fab Lab. Fab Lab conference in Bali, the Bali Fab Fest, in which we joined the Fab Lab conference and the Fab City Summit. And we did the Fab Island Challenge. It's actually a set of 10 challenges that we work together with local communities of Bali and Indonesia. And we were using the brain power of the international community coming together, joining the local makers, local innovators, and trying to find solutions for big issues related with plastic pollution, related with energy production, conservation of ocean, tools for agriculture, for farmers, sorry, and so on and so on. No, which is work also that this work of community and in context is something also that we have been doing for years. This is an example of a collaboration what we did with IKEA and Space 10. Space 10 that actually is an innovation space that closed this year. We were trying to look at how in a neighborhood scale we can rethink the model of a business as big as IKEA in the near future under this logic of distributed production, no? And how IKEA, instead of having warehouses where things are stored and then picked up by people and then becoming part of the assembly line of IKEA, we think about neighborhoods as a kind of a distributed production networks, where the waste coming from products that are not useful anymore, they can become local resources to make new products, and then this enter into the kind of a business idea of a conglomerate like IKEA. So this is the work also that that led in Barcelona to create the Maker District, and that became a public policy, and then further on is we're trying to understand also which are the implications of these interventions at the neighborhood scale with other dimension, which is the bioregional scale, no? And in a way, it's funny to say, but we're finding out more and more that the idea of the city might be obsolete. No, like there's nothing more important than the life at the neighborhood scale. And we should not forget that the life at the neighborhood and the very local life has implications that are regional or bioregional, that are connected with water systems, with forests, with wildlife. No, so in a way, we're trying to say that we cannot change the Fab City. This is too late, no, but we can say also that our focus work might not be the city anymore, but it's actually the neighborhoods and the bioregions, and understanding the city as the interface between the two. And then finally, at the upper scale of the full stack is this idea of the global networks, no? On how whatever we're learning in Barcelona, in Bali, in León, in Buenos Aires, in Nairobi, in Hamburg, in Shenzhen, wherever in the world, how that local knowledge can become part of a global brain, no? And that's this whole potential that networks like Fab Lab bring to the table, no? Is this kind of a set of tools, shared set of tools, principles, programs, projects that they can be extrapolated, adapted, and sorry, and implemented at the local level. So let me get some water. And then on top of that is the Fab City Network, which is basically how we can bring all of this at the policy level, how we can engage also the local leadership in our cities, in our regions, to adopt these changes more deeply. No? So let me take a little bit of water. Okay. So in a nutshell, that's a full stack, no? How we go from Fab Labs to Fab Cities, how we go from tools to actual transformation of territories, and how we go from from a small microcontroller to the entire planetary articulation for transformation. No? This follows a logic that I think many of you recognize. This graph, I guess, widely used in many presentations in the world, but it's this notion of, especially when you talk about blockchain and these kind of technologies, but what we're talking here is actually a little bit of the same principles, but applied into manufacturing, and not just like industrial manufacturing, but this idea about the capacity of making under a distributed model, no? And I wanted to, basically wrapping up towards the end of the last part of my presentation is really bringing it down on what's the potential in places like Indonesia, being an archipelago of more than 17,000 islands, with people speaking more than 600 different languages. The geography itself offers a great possibility to become a prototype for this distributed model of production, no, between island and island. And it's a reality that it's an actual need that the country like Indonesia is having, is to have, first of all, like a more sovereignty over its own technology, capacity to serve remote populations in different islands, and then foster this local innovation, which has been a big dream actually of the father of my very good friend Ilham, which is in the picture, who was a former president of Indonesia and was trying to bring this technological capacity to the country and innovation capacity to the country. So together with Ilham and other partners, we're building this, we're bringing to Indonesia the power of the Fab Lab network and the Fab City networks. And then last year, we organized the Bali Fab Fest, as I said before. Some of you attended to it. I'm going to skip the video. You can actually find it online, but it was a series of events, like the ones that like Maker Faire or the Fab Conference, in which 500 people just after the pandemic came to Bali, and we're really creating these opportunities to mix local knowledge with international community knowledge, advanced technologies with low technologies, tradition versus the new, etc., etc. No? So we really based the whole event based on these kind of contradictions between, or these tensions between the old and the new, the traditional and the advanced, etc., to kind of create these opportunities for finding what we call it the creative tension. No? So these are some of the challenges I was saying before. Actually, one in the top left is balloon energy. I'm going to talk about a little bit about it in a bit, and also other projects involving Manu Prakash, which some of you know, doing samplings of the ocean and in different areas of. Sorry about the audio. I hope that it gets better. Please, if someone else is getting the same, let me know. But basically, we were having like a PhD, Stanford, MIT people working with actual activists based in Indonesia and Bali, trying to find solutions to very, very big problems. No, and this is the results. We, you can find, you go to our website and the Fab City website, and you can find some of more details about it, and you can find in this URL the report of a challenge in detail. And we repeated in Bhutan actually this year, and you can find as well the results of the of the Fab Island Challenge in Bhutan, or the Fab, not the Fab Island, the Fab 23 Bhutan results through an amazing paper published this year in the paper Procedures. So during the Fab Fest, we brought Bali to become part of a Fab City Network. You can see in the middle next to Ilham is the governor of Bali, who is the one that actually committed Bali to produce locally almost everything it consumes. We know that sometimes politicians are very easy to take these commitments to the future, but actually this becomes an instrument for the local people, the local activists, to do something and to put pressure to the political leadership at the local level. No. Also, knowing that what we discovered, no, is like we knew already that we were not starting from scratch. There is an amazing set of initiatives in Bali and Indonesia that are really making a great difference, and we are trying to see, where we can add forces, no, how we can join forces, how we can enhance each other, learn from each other, and take whatever we are doing to the next level. No, so there are a lot of opportunities here in Bali that we are identifying through the local Fab Lab. So our Fab Lab is up and running. We are working on different models to welcome makers to come to Bali, not only to do surfing and enjoy a great yoga sessions and healthy food and have a great connection with the local culture, but also being able to come and prototype with us, alternative responses to the big crises, the big issues that local communities in Bali have, but also thinking that a lot of that can be taken and applied into different places in the world. No, this is part of the amazing team. You will recognize some faces. One of the challenges that we had with the Fab Lab is not just to have just machines, but to have actual great people. And we have an amazing team of Indonesians mainly that Ginger and I are supporting, and mainly, and also with a lot of organizations behind, like CAS Foundation, Meaningful Design Group, Jimbarang Hijau, and also the Fab City Foundation supporting Fab Lab Bali. This is some of the work that we're doing in one project that I wanted to finish with, and this is part of a recent festival in the Jimbaran area where the Fab Lab is located, where some of our students are that have been working with us in a beautiful program that is called InnoFuture. Were presented to the local leadership some of the results of our projects that have been working with the team in the last few months. So I wanted to finish out with this project that I think it brings some of these ideas. I started from the very broad ideas about the digital transformation, the potential of digital fabrication, this big vision of Fab City, how we're trying to narrow it down through the full stack, showing some examples in which this can be more understandable, and then start to localize it here in a context like the Indonesian one. I wanted to finish up with this project, which is called the Hydrogen Village, and that we're collaborating. We have different collaborating institutions, but basically this is a project that's being led by designer and innovator Cesar Harada with the support of Fab Lab Bali, to try to develop a different framework for innovation at the local level in North Serangan in Bali, in the community of Sakenang, no? And it's basically, this is a community that, it used to live out of tourism. It has a lot of pressure from the reduction of the touristic activity. It's next to the land the Bali biggest landfill that maybe you've seen burning some weeks ago. This is next to that community. And in as many other communities in Bali and Indonesia, they are suffering from the changes of that the economic cycles are bringing to them, especially the post-pandemic situation. And we anticipate and can be anticipated that they're going to be suffering also from the pressure of the climate change. So we basically want to develop a platform to become like a floating laboratory for hydrogen research and look for applications of hydrogen production and consumption in a small village, in the village scale in Serangan, but also that could be extrapolated to other villages in Bali and in Indonesia, no? And we want to work with very few key things. Now, one is like using low pressure storage of hydrogen, making it less dangerous for local communities, and using non-toxic catalysts to be able to the waste that is, or the result of this process of producing hydrogen to be actually not only not wasteful, but actually regenerative for the ocean and for the local communities. And this is something, a principle that should be in all the projects that you think ever. And then, of course, making it an open source, a decentralized, distributed way, you know? So the project is kicking off. Is soon gonna be floating, hopefully in the next few months. It's going to become an opportunity for many people to come to go see work with us, and you're gonna be hearing a lot of news about it very soon. So finally, I'm gonna finish with this idea of bringing to innovation, this idea of Fab Indonesia, or turning Indonesia into a prototyping site for distributed technologies, for incorporating these new digital revolutions, but also recognizing these local crafts. A lot of opportunities to develop businesses here in the area, and a lot of very, very big issues to deal with, and makes more meaningful all the work that a lot of you and us are working on, no? And of course, always respecting the local culture. So finally, I want to skip these parts, which is a final video I wanted to show. I will share later my slides so you can check it later on. But I wanted to thank again the invitation from the Hackster to allow me to be part of this amazing event. And again, hello to all these old friends and to the new ones, and happy to be in touch in the future.